y'all are.
Good afternoon, family. You know, Al gave us the why, and that's a common question that since we've been putting this program together that we have been asked. What does it matter what color the people were? Why does that matter? And that's a common question. Is this message going to determine salvation for anybody? And if not, then who cares? And I think Al did a great job giving us the answer as to why it matters. One of the other reasons I think it matters is our people, black people around the world, but just focusing here on the United States, are in a bad place. Our health is messed up. Our families are messed up. Whereas we're committing violence against each other, we're shooting each other, we're fighting each other. Our neighborhoods are messed up. The answer to the problem in our communities is this right here. And as Al taught us, the truth will set us free. That's John 8:31 and 32. The truth will set us free. And I believe this awakening that's happening as to who we really are as a people will be one of the keys to unlock our future as a people, but to just unlock individual lives who are shackled to drugs and bad health and bad family situations, bad neighborhoods, bad situations. This is not just this and knowing where we came from, but this is the key that will unlock the door for many of our people. One of the things we have often heard, and hopefully we will dispel this today, is Islam is the religion for black people. I would like to say that we will dispel that myth today to say we can trace our roots also all the way back to Father Abraham, and Father Abraham had two sons. We do know that, right? One son did lead. He's the father of two religions, the Islamic religion and the Christian religion, and we can trace our roots back, and we will show that today. So my assignment, as they're getting the PowerPoint going, is to biblically show you and build the foundation for what we're going to present today. It's perfect timing because our pastors got together and said the year 2018 will be the year of the Word. So I've been given the opportunity to show you in the Word some of what we're talking about. Last year, Jared actually gave a sermon, and he was talking about reading the Bible in HD. And one of the things he mentioned was using the concordance and other commentaries. And as you're using those commentaries and concordance and other things, it brings the Bible to life. Well, I guess about maybe 2 years ago, I really got interested in this topic. And as I've learned more, for me, the Bible has come to life. And now I'm reading the Bible in HD because now I'm seeing clues as to who these people are that I'm reading about in the Bible. And now it just really comes to life for me because I can relate to them, because now I know, wait a minute, this book is a book about people who look just like me. Right. And that was, for me, just revolutionary to all I've been taught my whole life, all I've been shown. Just probably 30 minutes ago, my son looked at this and said, "Dad, was Moses black?" Wow. And so that, it's like, so I'm glad he's sitting here. I'm glad there's other kids here so that we can begin to dispel some of the myths that we have been taught all of our lives. And we're going to use the Bible to do that. All right, here we go. So you said I can advance this? All right. So this is what we've been told, right? We've been told that this is where we come from. These are our ancestors. Wow. And hopefully, after all the presentations today, you won't leave here believing that this is where you come from. Because I'm here to tell you today the Bible doesn't teach that, and we're not going to teach that today. So even the world now is beginning to wake up to this reality. This is from Newsweek in 1988. So even then, you can see that as a people were beginning to recognize this even before we were. And this is all the way in 1988, that they were able to trace back archaeologically some of the earliest fossils that were found were in the region of Mesopotamia and in Ethiopia. So if you could read for me, Daniel or Cliff, Genesis 2, and if you want to turn in your Bibles, Genesis 2, 10 to 14. I believe let's go all the way back to the beginning, and let's start at the beginning.
All right, Genesis 2, verse 10 to 14. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, that is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is Bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates.
Now, just from what we know of geography, number one, how many people even knew that Ethiopia was mentioned in Genesis 2? I mean, how many people really even knew that? That tells you right there where the Garden of Eden was placed. It was placed in northern Africa and what, we now know is considered the Middle East. Obviously, back then, that's not what it was called. One of the other rivers they mentioned was Havilah, which you can see is right above where Ethiopia is. I don't have a pointer on here, but where you see Cush, that's Ethiopia, and then right above that is Havilah. So just using a common sense, it wouldn't make sense that Adam and Eve, the progenitor, do I have a red dot on there? Oh, bam. Oh, okay. Oh, it's not showing up on the screen. Thank you. It's on the wall, but it's not on the screen. But, one of my surgical partners just this week, I was telling him we were doing this talk. And he was like, for what? You mean black people don't know that? And he's not Christian, but he was like, it doesn't make sense, common sense. There's no whites living in the Middle East really now, let alone thousands and thousands of years ago. And he was surprised that we were even giving this talk, that this wasn't common sense knowledge. But you can see here, even biblically, where the Garden of Eden had to be placed. And just believing that, then we know that at a minimum, the people had to be brown people. All right. This here, again, one of the ways in reading the Bible and being able to identify black people in the Bible, this is just dealing with black people in the Bible, is looking at the genealogy of Ham. We all know the story. The flood destroyed the entire world except for Noah and his family. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. We believe that Ham was the earliest descendant of the African race, and we came, or progenitor, thank you, that's the word, and we came through Shem, but we're just going to deal with Ham and the descendants of the African race. So when you're reading through the Bible and you see these people, you see like the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites. You see Nimrod, Babylon, Assyrians, Ninevites. When you see Sheba, when you see these things, automatically then you can identify, wait a minute, these are black people in the Bible. Again, reading the Bible in HD. That something should go off. ways to identify is that the region they lived in, the languages they spoke. Those are ways to identify black people in the Bible. So this is one of the charts of one of Noah's sons, which is the progenitor of the African race. Just again, some common sense facts. Deuce, this is for you. So we know that the ancient Egyptians and ancient Hebrews physically resembled each other. We know that biblically. Pastor Graham taught us that this morning, that they even mistook Paul as an Egyptian because of his skin color, and he said, "I am a Hebrew." That's in Acts 21:37-39. Just going forward, archaeologically, again, these are Egyptians. You can see the thick noses and the full lips. This is an early painting of an Egyptian woman. You can see brown skin. This is an early painting of Hebrew women. Again, you can see brown skin. And this is an early painting of Hebrew slaves when they were under Egyptian captivity. Again, you can see brown skin. So, just again, using common sense, Moses was in Egypt for 40 years, but nobody knew he was Hebrew. All the Egyptians were black, but Moses was able to fit in and didn't know for 40 years that he was Hebrew. To me, common sense would say they must have all looked alike. Joseph was again in Egypt. His own brothers came to see him and did not recognize him. Again, if he was of a different race or hue, he would have stood out like a sore thumb. Joseph fit right in with the Egyptians. His own brothers did not recognize him. Common sense would say they must have all looked alike. When it was time for Jesus to hide, when he was first born, where did they take him to hide? They took him to Egypt to hide amongst the Egyptians. Again, if he was of a different hue, common sense would say he would stand out like a sore thumb. But he didn't. He was able to hide amongst a black people. Again, just looking at this time we'll just focus on Babylon, Shinar, and Nimrod. Daniel, if you could read Genesis 11:31, we're just showing, again, the black presence in the Bible.
Let's test.
Yes.
Genesis 11:31. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came on to Haran and dwelt there.
Okay. So Abram and his father, they're from Ur of the Chaldeans. Just for the sake of time, if you could skip to Daniel 1:1-4. Daniel 1:1-4. The other two verses you can look up, Genesis 15:7, Nehemiah 9:7, is just again saying that Abraham was from Ur of the Chaldeans. Daniel 1:1-4.
Daniel 1:1-4. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of God.
Just stop there for 1 second, just testing my audience. So when you hear the word Babylon, you think, thank you, Cliff, for listening to the presentation.
Wow.
Think black people, and we'll just go back here. You can see at the bottom, descendants of Ham, Babylon, black people, black presence in the Bible. Okay, keep reading, please.
Which he carried into the land of Shinar.
Again, so when we hear the land Shinar, we think, Okay, you're getting with us. Shinar, Babylon. Okay.
Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and the king's seed and of the princess, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom and cunning and knowledge and understanding, science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
So the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans, which is the Babylonians, which when we think of Babylon, we think, and if Abraham is from that part region, then we would deduce that Abraham was, all right, thank you. Does that make sense to everybody? Pastor Graham, are we following the word as the Bible? All right. This is the year of the word at Restoration Praise Center. Even the nations where Abraham lived, Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Philistines, Egypt, and the Hittites, all of those, if you go back to our chart, you could see these are all the places where Abraham lived, were amongst people that looked like him. Wow. Even his second wife, Hagar, was known to be an Egyptian. Just for the sake of time, again, Jesus, we know the Messiah was prophesied to come through the line of Judah. Genesis 38, if anyone wants to read an interesting story with a lot of drama, read Genesis 38. But just to shorten it for the sake of time, Judah ended up sleeping with a prostitute who he thought was a prostitute, ended up being his own daughter-in-law. Her name was Tamar. Tamar and Judah together had a son whose name was Perez. And Tamar and Perez, if you go to Matthew 1, is in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Wow. Why? But read Genesis 38. It's a fascinating story. But Jesus comes through the line of Judah through this. Rahab, another person, if you go to Matthew 1, is in the genealogy of Jesus. And if you go all the way back, we remember Joshua and the spies went to spy out Canaan, right? And they needed a place to stay because they kind of got found out. So they went to stay at a Canaanite woman's house, and her name was Rahab. Rahab also, if we go back to our genealogy of Ham, we see Canaan in there. So Rahab from Canaan must be, thank you, people are listening, Bathsheba. If we go again back to our, we see down at the bottom right next to Shinar is Sheba. Bathsheba's husband is Uriah the Hittite. If we go back again, we see the Hittites right kind of in the middle, right beside the Jebusites. Bathsheba, coming from Sheba, whose husband was a Hittite, again, this is kind of a deduction, but there's a good chance that Bathsheba was also black. Who also, again, is the mother of Solomon, and they all, in the line of Jesus, because Jesus also comes through the lineage of King David. So some people may say, well, wait a minute. When you go to Matthew 1, that would be Joseph's genealogy. And we all know that Joseph really had nothing to do with Jesus' birth. It was really Mary. But then we have to say, well, why does Jesus call himself the son of David? And the reason we know that Mary and Joseph both came through the line of David is, number one, they were cousins. And then let's just read a couple of these verses. There's a lot here. How many readers we have? We have 3 readers? 2 readers? I guess you can split some of these up, but let's start with Luke 1:27 and Luke 2:4. Then I'll read Luke 1:32.
Yeah, I got Luke 1. Luke 1:27. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary.
So right there it tells us Joseph of the house of David. Luke 2:4.
All right. Luke 2:4, and Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David. David.
Luke 1:32.
Just again, yeah. I don't know how we're doing on time, but that's, I think, enough to show that Joseph and, well, let's keep going. Luke 1:32 and 69.
Okay, Luke 1:32. He shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Highest, and the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David. And 69. And have raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
And this is, let's see if someone else could read Matthew 15:22. I'll read 9:27. And when Jesus departed thence, 2 blind men followed him, crying and saying, Thou Son of David, have mercy on us.
And Matthew 15:20. Matthew 15:20, verses 22. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast, and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou Son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil.
So again, you know, if Jesus is being referred to as the Son of David, Jesus refers to himself as the Son of David. Someone could read Revelation 22:15. Then we know that Mary must have also been of the house of David, because if it was only Joseph, then he wouldn't really be able to call himself in the lineage of David, since he didn't really come through Joseph. He came through Mary and the Holy Spirit.
Revelation 22:15. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
That didn't sound right. Was that 22:15?
Yeah,
All right.
Revelation 22:15.
Maybe I might have wrote that one down wrong.
Okay.
Was it 15:22?
Revelation 15:22.
That could be right.
No, there is no Revelation 15:22. No.
All right, I must have wrote that one down wrong. But anyway, I think the point is made that Jesus, coming through the line of David, Mary and Joseph being cousins, both coming through the line of David. And we are able to trace multiple, it's 16? All right. Can we read Revelation 22:16? Crystal found our mistake. So good to have you back, Crystal. And they put you right to work on the AV team, like right where you started. Crystal started the AV team at the Restoration Praise Center.
Revelation 22:16. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and
There
the
we go.
bright and morning star.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Crystal. So I think that's my time, but I guess wanted, as again, we're going through the year of the Word, as now you're reading the Word this year, hopefully some of these buzzwords will leap out at you and you'll say, wait a minute, this guy is someone who looks like us. This is a black person in the Bible. Thank you.